Hello and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant joining you live from India's startup capital, Bangalore, and we have a power-packed show over the next 20 minutes.
And I'm Krishna Kumar coming to you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios. First up, a check on all that's making headlines here at ET Now Startup Central. Regulatory hurdles continue to haunt cab aggregators Ola and Uber. On the other hand, the surge pricing issue has once again gained momentum, with Uber having relaunched it in the Delhi NCR region. Ad-tech firm Inmobi, backed by the likes of SoftBank and Sherpalo Capital, has seen a top-level exit, with its CFO Manish Dugar quitting to join healthcare platform Practo as its global CFO. We have a big voice on the show today, just a week after Peppertap shutdowns set shockwaves in the system. Its bigger competitor Grofers has cut a confident picture. We have Albinder Dhindsa, co-founder of Grofers, joining us on the show today. Remember the time when we all used the yellow pages of Getit? Well, now it is online and it's called Askme.com, and it aims to be the prime discovery channel for every shopping need in cities small and big. We'll get you a chat with the top management on our next big star segment.
Let's kick it off then with the trouble that Krishna cab aggregators Ola and Uber continue to face in the national capital region, and it's really a double whammy of sorts that's come for them over the weekend. On the one hand, you have the Supreme Court, which has refused to extend the deadline as far as diesel cars are concerned. So all of them have been forced to switch to CNG effective 1st May. Now, we did reach out to Ola and Uber on this. Both of them say that they are compliant and that only CNG cabs are plying on Delhi roads. But a lot of cab drivers have cried foul. In fact, a lot of drivers owning diesel cabs have really showcased their plight as far as Delhi is concerned, and it's really uncertain what's going to come off that. But apart from that Supreme Court diktat, the other issue that continues to be a pain point for them is surge pricing. Now, while both cab aggregators were forced to drop surge pricing during odd-even days, Uber relaunched it after the odd-even came to an end, again forcing CM Arvind Kejriwal to step in and threatening action against Uber. In fact, the Delhi government has also launched a helpline where consumers can register complaints if they come across surge pricing on Uber. Ola for now says it hasn't resumed peak pricing, but we'll really have to see how that plays out. Clearly, market dynamics is not just what it takes to operate in Delhi NCR. A host of other factors as well. Remember, it is the biggest market for these cab aggregators, so we really have to wait and see, Krishna, how they manage to tide over this crisis.
Absolutely, Chandra. I'm also concerned about Delhiites who depend upon the likes of Ola and Uber on a daily basis for their commutation purposes, who will be hit thanks to all these regulations. It'll be only time will tell how Ola and Uber will work their way around all that's creating stumbling blocks for them in the Delhi NCR market. Moving on to the other big story that we're tracking here, Chandra. Ad-tech firm Inmobi, backed by the likes of SoftBank and Sherpalo Capital, has seen a top-level exit, with its chief financial officer Manish Dugar quitting to join healthcare platform Practo as its global CFO. While Dugar told us earlier that this is an amicable exit and that it was in the works for some time, the departure couldn't have come at a worse time for Inmobi. The mobile advertising firm, which competes with the likes of Google and Facebook, has faced mid-level exits in recent months and is also under considerable amount of pressure on the revenue side after its offering MIIP got a lukewarm response.
That's right, Krishna. Inmobi was one of the first companies to really hit that $1 billion valuation mark. So, I mean, not just within Inmobi, but it's really looked up to by a lot of entrepreneurs, by a lot of startups. So, here's hoping they are able to tide over that crisis there, and that they are able to find a good revenue model, because it's not easy to compete with the likes of behemoths like Google and Facebook. But moving away to those two important news stories of the day, Ola Uber as well as Inmobi, to another space that has been in news all week. We are of course talking about the hyperlocal space. You know, we got you an interview last week, an exclusive one with Peppertap's CEO after they shut down delivery operations, and this week we have Peppertap's biggest rival Grofers joining us on the show to really talk about Grofers' own future as far as the space is concerned. Albinder Dhindsa, the co-founder and CEO of Grofers, joins us exclusively on ET Now Startup Central. Albinder, thank you so much for joining us here. You know, the biggest question on everyone's minds: Peppertap has been forced to shut grocery delivery operations. What is Grofers' future going to be? Because your business model is not too different from Peppertap. So really, take us through that.
So look, I mean, this is going to be a competitive market for the next few years at least. This is one of the biggest sort of opportunities in consumer internet, which is primarily related to a $600 billion market that is grocery led, and that forms a major chunk of every Indian's wallet share. So I think you're going to see a lot more consolidation in the market, a lot more updates from different actors in building up different business models. The way we sort of see it is that we need to sort of keep executing the things we are doing, provide value to the customers, and at the same time fill in the holes in the value in the supply chain that can help create value for not only the brands that we are working with, but also with the retailers, and eventually that is something that is going to be valuable for the consumer. So really, I mean, out of necessity, we have to make sure that we are always taking a very, very long view on what we are building, execute really fast, learn really fast from our mistakes, others' mistakes, and just sort of keep moving on.
Albinder, this is Krishna coming to you from ET Now's Mumbai studios. A simple question from me. Does the fact that you have funding from the likes of SoftBank help you, considering this business is finding it difficult when it comes to unit economics?
So, I mean, almost all our investors, including Tiger and Yuri and Sequoia, they have a tremendous track record of backing companies in the Indian ecosystem in specific. And I think they all understand the Indian ecosystem a lot better. They understand that companies here are built over a longer period of time. They're not sort of built in a 2-3 year horizon. And I think they've seen sort of enough up and down cycles globally as well as in India that I think it's actually great to have a very steady set of investors who really sort of look at the bigger picture, look at the longer term, and don't sort of prioritize short-term things.
Steady set of investors, Albinder, but the reality of the space is that companies end up losing, money hand over fist because it has poor unit economics. The amount taken to deliver per order is far higher than the order value itself. So what is the future of the space going to be?
Actually, the segment doesn't really have poor unit economics. It actually has pretty good margins. It's just that grocery business is a mass market business. It is something that globally operates on volumes, right? So you're not going to make a 40-50% margin like fashion does, but you're going to always be operating on much thinner margins. But unlike fashion, over here the transaction is much more frequent. The volume of transactions is a lot more higher. To give you scale, I think we reached 30,000 daily transactions in a matter of less than 1 year, something which in the Indian ecosystem not a lot of other segments are able to accomplish. However, this also requires a much more focused supply chain, because unlike higher margin products which have their own issues, they have returns, they have a lot of other things, over here getting the consumers the products a lot quickly, ensuring quality, all that stuff, that matters a lot. So in cases you have to build a more bespoke supply chain, which is what our primary focus is. How do you build a supply chain that can profitably deliver these products to the consumer, and not only profitably deliver but also deliver value to the consumers? you don't want to sort of build a supply chain which is supplying things at a higher price to the consumer. That doesn't make any business sense. But what we are able to accomplish through our own supply chain and working with a lot of retailers and brands is actually make the existing supply chain a lot more shorter, a lot more efficient. The end result is we can actually provide consumers with better prices. At the same time, we are also sort of changing their buying habit from buying offline to online, right? Which is a part of a broader shift of consumer buying behavior from the offline world to the online world. So I think what you will see a lot of players, at least in the grocery segment, try to do is focus a lot more on the supply chain side of things. Because when you're working with slower margins but very high volume, you want to make sure that you are actually executing really well, that your supply chain is working very, very efficiently.
All right, that was quite a detailed view from you, Albinder, on how to improve the unit economics. But you recently moved to the inventory model in few categories like fruits and vegetables. Isn't there a downside because of the recent FDI norms that don't allow FDI and inventory-led startups? So
look, I mean, we primarily work with retailers in the ecosystem. So as such, the FDI norms do not impact us. I mean, we work with most major retailers, most major high street retailers like Reliance Fresh, SRS, Hypercity. So we are a true marketplace in that sense. What we are more focused on is actually figuring out how do we provide value-added services to these retailers so they can actually build more efficient supply chain, how we can get extra value from brands that we can then share with these retailers. So the FDI norms is something that actually doesn't have a real impact on us.
Albinder, a few specifics if you can share on the kind of growth that you are witnessing in terms of daily orders, the traction that you're really seeing here.
So, I mean, although as a company we're a lot older, we were doing a lot of logistics business before, but last January is when we really sort of got into the business of delivering groceries directly to consumers. Since then, now we on an average day we do something like 30,000 orders, and most of that is in the grocery space itself. And I mean, this growth has come over a 14-15 month period. We have over 2 million downloads on Google Play and iOS, and over 400,000 active buying customers every month.
Good to know that, Albinder, but you also shut down in a few cities across the country. Tell us, how has that helped you in terms of operating more efficiently?
Actually, we shut those operations almost 6 months ago now. However, the philosophy behind shutting those cities was some of them are actually doing decently well for us, but we simply did not have the management bandwidth to be able to concentrate on those cities as well. Right, so it was more a question of can we actually visit those cities every 2 months? Do we have enough bandwidth to be able to do our top 17 cities and an additional 9 cities, which we did not. However, we are looking to restart back at least in Ludhiana and Bhubaneswar very soon. So 2 of the cities that we had previously shut down. So we should be back in those cities within the next couple of quarters.
Albinder, we had Amazon's India management last week, and he was pretty optimistic about the hyperlocal space. So how do you really compete with an Amazon now, which is not constrained by capital? How do you compete with a gorilla like that going forward?
Look, I mean, we will have to compete with Amazon on things that we can do well, which is build great tech, build a great supply chain, give great consumer service. If Amazon comes in and just because of their deep pockets they are able to beat us, then there is hardly anything that we can do about it. But I'm pretty sure that it is not as trivial as saying that for them, just because they'll be able to spend money, that they will win. So we will obviously try to do the things that we do well, and we'll wait and see if capital is really a game changer in that situation.
All right, Albinder, one last thing before we let you go. Tell us about the road ahead, in terms of your focus areas over the next few months time horizon.
So, I mean, we are really focused around really just building up our supply chain. because as we've grown, a lot of the issues that have come up in terms of fulfillment and getting the orders to the customers in time, most of them are actually related to a very fragmented and sort of very archaic supply chain that we deal with for groceries, specifically in India. So our primary focus is actually overhauling that for our own purposes. So we are actually working with a lot of retailers, trying to bring them more into more into the technology side of things, where they're not only tracking their inventory using the tech that we provide them, but they're also doing a lot of the offline billing that they're doing through our platform itself, and actually becoming a lot more smarter about how are the items going to be bought, instead of operating purely in a cash economy, going to a southern market and buying items and then reselling them to consumers. Actually trying to bring them more into a more formal setup, and also at the same time helping them with the supply chain issues that they face, because of which they have to go to the cash economy. So that is really our only focus area at this point of time. We know that there is a huge market to be built out there. We also know that this is not a battle that is going to last for only a couple of years. So we would rather compete on a superior customer experience provided by a very robust supply chain over anything else.
All right, Albinder, we will wrap things up on that note. Albinder Dhindsa, co-founder of Grofers, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on ET Now Startup Central. Moving on, Chandra, up next is somebody who's technically a competitor with Grofers. Remember the time when we all used the yellow pages of Getit? Well, it's online now, as we all know, and it's called Askme.com, and it aims to be the prime discovery channel for every shopping need in cities small and big. And not just that, they operate AskMeBazaar.com, a horizontal marketplace for SMEs, which is no less than Ranbir Kapoor as its brand ambassador. The group also operates AskMeGrocery.com, and they do have a furniture vertical as well. In fact, Askme Bazaar has had $800 million in annualized GMV, and there are reports on talks to raise $150 to $200 million with none other than Alibaba as a potential investor. Now, we caught up with Manav Sethi, Group CMO and Head Digital Services of Getit Infoservices, the holding group company of Askme. Take a look at this conversation.
Askme today has platforms across horizontal commerce, where we are a managed marketplace. We have about 7 million SKUs which are live. We have about 250,000 sellers who have opened their storefronts and they sell through us. It's a typical offline to online and inclusive story where, unlike a few of the other incumbents in the ecosystem, we actually handhold SMEs to open their storefronts so that they can list their SKUs. So we launched Askme Bazaar formally in June of 2014. Recently, we also launched Grocery Play, where we are the only hyper-local grocery player across 50 Indian cities. Right, and again, it is a very capital efficient OPEX-led model where we have created hub and spoke structures for groceries. So I think we are seeing tremendous growth and traction. Then we are going to launch a brand called Mabelcart, which is our furniture play. Again, grocery and Mabelcart came out of our insight, because when we launched Askme Bazaar as a horizontal marketplace, we realized that there are certain verticals which have potential to become billion-dollar businesses on its own. Grocery, if you look at from an offline standpoint, 65% of total retail in this country in some shape or form is grocery. So you will buy your Nike shoe once in 6 months, but you will buy your atta dal chawal every month.
Talk to us about Askme.com's strategy in an environment like this. Hyperlocal chains are shutting down. Marketplaces are floundering when it comes to their unit economics. And furniture, well, we just saw FabFurnish.com sell out to the Future Group. All three verticals you operate in have seen nothing but trouble over the last several months.
From a differentiation in the business model standpoint, I think Askme Bazaar and Askme Grocery stand out because we've never invested a penny in warehousing. Right. From a unit economic standpoint, I think at certain scale you will achieve that unit economics, and which is what keep us driving. We have been very, very careful in terms of launching these verticals, because there is a lot of internal network effect or leverage that I can drive from my existing sales or ops structure. When you focus internally on the resources which you have and try to take the best out of those resources, you realize that the returns are incremental and the cost is marginal, which for any other entity to do on a standalone basis becomes a challenge.
The talk that is doing the rounds is that Askme is set to raise about $150 to $200 million for the next round of funding, and no less than Alibaba is the one looking to pump in that kind of money. Can you throw some light, if not on this particular talk that's doing the rounds, about Askme's funding plans going forward?
Well, I can't comment on the hearsay and rumor. However, your first part of the statement is true, where we are on the verge of closing a big round. That's all I can say.
Krishna, I wonder how many people are hopeful of raising funds from Alibaba. It's just getting crazy, right?
Yeah.
Any marketplace worth its salt wants Alibaba to invest in it. Interesting to see what Jack Ma will do. But from Alibaba to Baba, we're talking about a superstar who's featuring on our number crunch today. And the number we are crunching for you today is 5.5 million. That's the number of hits that Rajnikant's new release Kabali has received in the first 24 hours since that trailer went online. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, any Rajni release, leads to that adrenaline rush. And I mean, he's a superstar for all ages. I mean, across the country. I guess he's a unifying force, Krishna, and I'm certainly looking forward to that movie come June.
Chandra, for once our number crunch, due credit to our producer Neeraj, is suddenly doesn't hold anymore, because as I'm checking right now, that trailer has crossed 6 million. As of now, that number
That's
of
why I said 24 hours.
I know, Chandra, but 5.5 million hits in 24 hours is, nothing short of insanity. But I must say, I've watched that trailer. It promises a really, really, really good Rajnikant film. And as they say, there is no comparison when it comes to stardom that that man possesses. And even him, only him, is probably capable of crashing the internet, apart from Barack Obama. So at the end of the day, 5.5 million is a staggering number to look at when it comes to YouTube hits. But with that, we wrap things up here on this edition of ET Now Startup Central. Coming up next is Market Watch. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.